Welcome back. I am Largo, and today we're going to check out another SCP video. Now, it's been a while since I've done an SCP video, and a couple of you have been asking for them, so I decided to go ahead and just check one out. I went over to the Vulgans page and just picked one at random. So today we're going to check out SCP-2600, the Empty Box. Judging from the name, I don't really know. It's not very descriptive, doesn't give me a whole lot to work with. So let's go ahead and jump right into it, find out what SCP-2600 is. The Empty Box.
The SCP we're going to be looking at today is SCP-2600. Object Class: Euclid. Containment Attempt Summary. During SCP-2600's containment operations...
Okay, so this looks like an Atari 2600 and SCP-2600, so I'm assuming it's some kind of game console? At least judging from the image here.
Non-functional and other non-essential test materials were cataloged by the engineers of Mobile Task Force Delta 43, Quarter Junkies. SCP-2600 is currently contained within Site-77. All personnel assigned to work with SCP-2600 are to be rotated every 3 weeks, with regular psychiatric evaluations to ensure they are not being affected by SCP-2600. Any physical interaction is to be done by robotic drones.
Not that uncommon for SCPs to have staff rotated out, especially if it's some kind of mimetic SCP or mind-altering SCP, so... Alright.
Description: SCP-2600 designates a set of 8 CRT television sets connected to one video computer system via a black cable coming out of the cartridge slot. All external ports have been covered, and the copyright information on the bottom of the unit has been replaced with a label reading MK Pro 8 POL.
MK Pro 8 POL. Interesting. It connects to 8 televisions, huh? That's different. Okay, I wonder why 8 televisions.
Images such as graphical errors, raw footage dating from the Vietnam War, video shot from a view through a tank periscope, graphical images resembling those found in SCP-1881 and SCP-1070, and non-anomalous game graphics have been documented on SCP-2600. The primary image displayed on SCP-2600 screens are several human faces with varying levels of detail and clarity.
Okay, so they're saying, okay, graphical errors, static, stuff like that, fine, whatever. Raw footage from the Vietnam War? Video shot from a tank periscope? Those are very, like, specific things to show. You know, it's, I wonder if that's going to come into play later. Not sure what SCP-1881 or SCP-1070 is, but I wonder if they have anything to do with war. Okay.
3 adolescent subjects, 2 female and 1 male, resembling youths who were reported as missing during the year 1981 in the Portland, Oregon region of the United States. 1 unidentified adult subject. Interference with the signal obscures the face, leaving a white silhouette, although the hair and ears come in clearly. A male identified as a former agent of the KGB who worked within the United States, reported missing in action by the Soviet Union in 1991. 2 adult human subjects, female, who constantly mouth the words, "Setting sail ships us free," and "The kit case jumped over the lazy Bolshi."
That's interesting. 2 adult human subjects, female, constantly mouth the words, "Setting sail, ship set us free," and "The kit case jumped over the lazy Bolshi." Setting sail, ships us free is almost like a tongue twister, right? Setting sail, ships us free. The kit case jumped over the lazy Bolshi. That one is kind of interesting to me because it's much like the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog, and that is a This was a sentence developed because I believe it has every letter of the English alphabet in that sentence. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. The kit case jumped over the lazy bullshit. I don't think it's the same thing, but it has the same like sentence structure, and that's what kind of made me think of it.
It comes into physical contact with any portion of SCP-2600, they will spontaneously generate lysergic acid diethylamide in their
what? What? Lysergic acid diethylamide? Dude, that's LSD. Someone's gonna be tripping balls here in a second.
oral cavity, usually resulting in hallucinogenic effects. Adjusting the switches present on the console portion of SCP-2600 controls the emotional state of the affected subject, as well as adjusting their responsiveness to performing commands. Tested subjects usually display sudden anger, aggression, confusion, sadness, apathy, and submission. This direct effect has been noted to last between 20 minutes and 4 hours, after which subjects will return to their normal behaviors. The previous sentence.
Okay, so interesting. If you make physical contact with the console, you will spontaneously generate LSD in your mouth. That is so random and insane. It's crazy. I'm still waiting to see how this all ties together, right? The 8 monitors with faces on them, images from previous wars, this all being wrapped up in an Atari 2600 that causes you to have LSD in your mouth. I don't know. LSD kind of popped off the same time that the Vietnam War did. So again, I don't know. I'm still trying to draw connections here. Still trying to figure this out.
This was stricken from the document. See addendum. History. The anomaly currently designated as SCP-2600 was first brought to Foundation attention through Atari internal documentation leaks in May of 1981.
Okay, so it's not something that looks like an Atari. It's literally an Atari, and they're even mentioning the Atari company, so it's not just something that looks like one, it actually is one.
These leaks indicated that a war simulation project contracted by the US Army had exceeded its original scope, and the development team was now being led by the Central Intelligence Agency. One subject was noted as having dramatic behavioral changes after being recruited by the CIA. Efforts to recover SCP-2600 were redoubled at this point.
Okay, so this was made by Atari under a contract by the US government, and at some point the production of this or the development of this was taken over by the CIA? Okay, all right, we're getting a little weird. All right.
Recovered documents indicate that CIA experiments showed SCP-2600 was capable of affecting at least 200 subjects at once, and that it was possible to induce affected individuals to work together in completing tasks without being aware of their cooperation. By the end of 1982, efforts to prevent the anomaly from being utilized by the United States had failed, resulting in the initial creation of SCP-2600. However, the project was abandoned due to unknown difficulties, resulting in it being transferred to the Unusual Incidents Unit.
Interesting. Okay, so this is all popping off it says here, by the end of 1982, SCP-2600 was actually created. So the project that they were working on was probably born in the 70s, at least, maybe. I mean, who knows? Maybe it goes back to the 60s, mid 60s, up through the 70s. So if you look at the 70s and the 80s and what like geopolitical was going on at the time, there was a lot of turmoil, there was a lot of stuff going on. And if you could have a device that could affect hundreds of people at the same time, affect their mood, emotions, be able to cause them to actually physically carry out tasks in conjunction with each other as a group, man, you could do some stuff with that. If it's radius based, think about that. If this was taking place during that time, then you could have done something like get this in proximity to a world leader, right? Like a lot of stuff was popping off with Russia back then and whatnot. So you could have assassinated world leaders by getting this in the same area as them, let's say as they're doing like a speech or a public presentation, and then you could literally coerce his own crowd to start a riot right there and assassinate a world leader using this thing. Okay, so I definitely see why the US government was definitely, and the CIA was definitely interested in this.
Foundation agents were able to recover SCP-2600 from them on 01/14/1983.
01/14/1983. As the financial difficulties had bankrupted Atari, 1983 was the year of the big video game crash. So yeah, Atari was in very bad shape at that point.
Financial difficulties had bankrupted Atari at this time. Foundation personnel were able to confiscate all of their materials relating to SCP-2600.
Okay.
Personnel involved in the development of SCP-2600 remain under observation, particularly those involved with the Central Intelligence Agency and the Unusual Incidents Unit.
Makes sense.
Addendum 2600 A1. Analysis of Site-77 has shown that over the past 11 months, these include above average numbers of volunteers for research and analysis of SCP-2600 surveillance records and communications testing. Electric usage for the Site-77 containment facilities being abnormally high. This has been attributed to research staff leaving the lights on at all hours of the day.
Okay.
Level 3 personnel approving above average numbers of research grants for projects relating to SCP-2600. D-Class personnel not needing instruction in regards to being tested with SCP-2600's anomalous effect.
All right, that's pretty interesting. Got a couple little interesting bits of information here. Clearly, this thing is able to influence people in a radius around itself, even if it's not being directly toyed with, I guess. Seems like it's causing people to be drawn to it. People are volunteering to work as researchers and as test subjects for this thing. They're drawn to it. And then once they put these D-Class personnels in there, they seem to already have not working knowledge of how to operate this Atari 2600 special edition, if you will. So that's pretty interesting. It's definitely, not only is it coercing behavior, but it's also able to implant information. If people don't need to be instructed on how to use it, that's because it's implanting information into a person's mind. So not only can you coerce their behavior, alter their emotions, but you can also implant information. This is very interesting. This could be a very powerful tool if used properly, and very dangerous if used improperly.
An unknown number of Site-77 personnel have been determined to have been maliciously affected by a previously unknown aspect of SCP-2600. Immediate rotation of the containment staff has been carried out by the Overseer Council, and all affected personnel will be given Class B amnestic treatments.
Okay.
Addendum 2600-C. Documentation recovered from the initial creation of SCP-2600.
Stella project proposed by the agency as a successor to Project due to the new materials discovered with...
No! Stella project proposed by the agency as a successor project to M blank dash something. Bro, are they referencing MK Ultra here? Their own little mind control type deal? Yeah, dude. Okay, so this Project Stella is supposed to be the successor project to MK Ultra. Interesting. Very interesting. All right, yeah. This is some like 60s, 70s, 80s government conspiracy type of stuff going on here. I kind of like this one. You know, not only is it like an anomalous thing, but it seems to be a man-made government project carried out by a third-party company. It was something created for a specific reason, a tool. Like I find these item SCPs very interesting. Very interesting. I think I find them more interesting than the great big, you know, colossal world-ending SCPs. Just because these item SCPs feel like chess pieces to me. and they can do certain things and you can move them around. They affect certain things certain ways. But then once you get to these giant SCPs that are like the end of the universe and stuff, it's like there's nothing to really play with. It's either all or nothing. You know, the whole universe burns or whatever the Eldritch Beast of the Week is or whatever. I'm so less interested in those than I am like stuff like this. Items, you know, things that can physically be sealed away in the SCP vaults. That makes an SCP facility to me almost like a treasure trove. Like every room has another item in it. Every item is its own monkey's paw. You know what I'm saying? Like you never know what you're gonna get behind each door. Very Warehouse 13 type thing, you know? I just like these physical objects can contain and store and almost put on display.
Which could overcome the faults found in the original process of implementing and sustaining controlling people's minds. Persons who were relieved of duty following the conclusion of the project have been contacted by the agency in order to resume some form of their previous work. Work has been contracted out to universities, research foundations, and computer companies, including the Atari Inc. Corporation. Their cooperation has proved promising due to the presence of their technology and contract to work with the military. In addition, at least 80 former employees of this company have signed on to participate as dual personnel.
Okay. Interesting. The SCP Foundation offers dual personnel roles to people from third-party companies like Atari. That's interesting. Didn't expect that.
Materials discovered from rendezvous with U.S. Bureau of Investigation.
The Arcadia effect. The human mind's ability to influence the perceptions of other minds once liberated from the task of controlling a body. The effect appears to be entirely contained to the mind, and all outside stimuli does nothing but inhibit the effect. This includes usage of the experimental echo chamber. Notably, agents are to note that thoughts of apathy, experiencing tinnitus, and minor rashes appearing around the temples are normal side effects of exposure to the Arcadia effect. In addition, there have been reports of vivid hallucinations of broken, sweaty, pimply skin bumping up and down on a bus with the shredded rubbery, not rubber wheels and some boy's mother on the top.
What? That makes no sense whatsoever. Okay, hallucinations of, quote, broken, sweaty, pimply skin bumping up and down on a bus with the shredded, rubbery, not rubber wheels and some boy's mother on the top, end quote. What? That makes no sense, man. I don't know, man. That makes no sense. And it's a vivid hallucinations that they have of this.
The specificity of this vision has been consistent among those experiencing it and have been found to be mildly troubling to agents with a psionic resistance index below 45. These agents are not permitted to with the object and its surrounding equipment and related phenomena, including the Dabney-Zizigi inhibitor.
Dabney-Zizigi inhibitor. Okay, that's something new from the Foundation I haven't heard of before.
Test subjects. In order to experiment with the Arcadia effect, subjects must be completely liberated from their old methods and abilities regarding thought and logic. To do so, the brain needs to focus on tasks other than biological responses. As such, the portions of the body which detract from the processing power must be removed.
Oh, it sounds to me like they are removing people's brains from their bodies and putting them in some type of containment vessel. Interesting verbiage they decided to go with to make it sound more scientific and less horrific. You know, they were liberated from their old methods and abilities regarding thought and logic. They wanted to make sure that the brain could focus on other tasks than biological responses. You know, like having your heart beat and breathing and stuff like that. All right, so they're popping people's brains out. Okay.
And the pure core placed in an electrostatic Dabney-Zizigi inhibitor, which displays a workable test subject on screen.
Huh.
Recently, research into the technology has come to an end. As Dr. Dabney reports, we have sufficiently liberated subjects from their old methods of thinking and perceiving to a programmable degree. Subjects are communicating with site staff and appear to have improved their attitude following conditioning.
Interesting. Following conditioning. And once you separate the mind from the body, and the mind no longer has that sensory input from the body, give a sense of place, feeling, essentially everything, you know, all of your sensory perception is gone. If they're able to electrically stimulate the brain properly to make this thing like feel like it experiences the passage of time, they could pull a Black Mirror on people, right? With their conditioning, quote unquote, and basically make people feel like they spent 100 years in isolation until they're ready to get with the program, to work and be a cooperative test subject. Because if they can control all of the stimuli going to the brain, to the nervous system, then they can make you think or feel whatever they want, honestly. So that's wild, dude. That's wild. I wonder what kind of conditioning they do. What I just said was just a random guess. I wonder what kind of conditioning they do to these liberated subjects.
No further action is necessary with uncooperative subjects.
Kill them.
All testing has been moved to Facility 18 due to its secretive location. Testing has been increasingly successful over the past 1 year, with subjects being able to recreate complicated war game scenarios based on the programming information provided by technical officers. In addition, subjects are able to control the mindsets of anybody participating in the simulation, which has been proven to be very important for controlling project directors such as Rothberg, whose continued loyalty is critical. When asked to describe what they could see, reported only static and despair.
Interesting. I think he said static and despair? Because it can make them feel emotions, remember? So he's getting the sensory perception of static, but the feeling of despair. That's interesting. And also, they're using this on their own people to ensure loyalty. Oh, okay.
Further study has shown stabilization is no longer an effective tool to force compromise, as all subjects have direct...
Further study has shown that something STA blank A ends with an N. Is it stagnation? Right? Because that would kind of lead into what I was thinking, right? Shown that stagnation is no longer an effective tool to force compromise, i.e. keeping them isolated or stagnated from any type of sensory perception.
Beyond that stage of reasoning and thought process. But that doesn't explain how a 19-year-old kid was able to have resistance to coercion and mind control techniques which were successful even with his counterparts. Stella is to be disconnected from its computer simulation systems until we are fully able to comprehend the alterations it has made to staff which have interacted with it. If it affected them beyond the simulation, then it's possible that many of our systems may be compromised. A full audit is underway.
Okay, so yeah, their system is definitely compromised. These are files from before the Foundation had control of it. This is back when they were calling it by its previous code name, not SCP-2600. So the previous staff that was working and building SCP-2600 got compromised by it.
Created by illogical mission rescinded. Why were the security protocols lifted? On whose authority? Security log 906. Stella is everywhere. The kids are here. We've lost control.
Okay, so Stella, Project Stella. Stella's everywhere. The kids are here. We've lost control. They're in my head. Okay, so Stella's everywhere. I get. They're in my head. I get. We've lost control. I get. The kids are here. I wonder if that is referring to the kids that went missing in the beginning of the video. They went missing in the early 80s, I believe. And they are the ones that show up on the 8 monitors. I wonder if those are the kids that they're referencing here.
They're in my head. And endless lines, endless lines, endless lines, endless lines. Stop or die for some ethical here. It's all around us. And it's sharper. There's something wrong here. And if your video killing colonels can't see it, you might as well take the white pills from your goddamn medicine cabinets for all Stella cares. If you can't leave well enough alone, you might as well be 6 feet under. Dextrose, maltodextrin, 2%. Arcadia will exit the ear canal on the left-hand side. Once it's gone, I'll be at your service. Now, the situation is currently impossible. They're rewriting everything to keep us running in. So, Stella is empty. What? You stop trying to get out to... There's too many of us to fit in. We can't get out alone or together. Access has been denied.
You stopped trying to get out to paradise.
And records are all contaminated. Please disregard the obvious alterations to this record. Attempts by the Arcadia test subjects to intimidate the agency have failed. It's just playing with itself in the memory it can access. It is no longer a threat. Failed.
This concludes today's lecture.
Alright guys, that was SCP-2600, the empty box. Pretty interesting. What I kind of liked about this one was not only was it an object SCP, which I like. I always enjoy thinking about how these different objects can be used. This one is pretty interesting to me as it's not like a random magic item, you know? It's not, doesn't do anything like so wildly out of the realm of possibility that it seems like magic or anything. Nope. This is kind of interesting because it was a literal government-funded mind control device. It has kind of like real life historical context with what the US government had their fingers in during that time period. They had it kind of redacted, but I'm almost 100% sure that they're referencing MK Ultra in this, and the SCP-2600 or Project Stella as it was known back then was the successor project to MK Ultra. So this is very interesting and unique as far as an SCP goes because it's like it was a military funded, supposed to be a weapon used against other countries during war or even in peacetime to influence politics, to influence political leaders. We saw that they were even using it on their own staff to ensure loyalty. So yeah, I'm sure the US government wanted a whole crate full of those things, you know, so they could keep all their people loyal, they keep all their people in line. You know, at the time they were looking for spies and stuff. There's a lot of stuff that was going on during this time as far as politics and stuff like that. So they didn't really go into like the images of the people as much as I thought they would. They didn't really go into why it was showing things of the Vietnam War, although I guess that would be some of the test footage, some of the data that they gave it because they were trying to make it run war games. So I would assume that they were using footage from their, you know, their wars. I'm sure they gave it data Or at least you would think that they would give it data from as many conflicts as possible. But SCP-2600, Mind Control, Atari, really like this one, very interesting. And that being said, guys, really like it. I hope you enjoyed it too. If you did, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. As always, consider hitting that subscribe button to help the channel out. But most importantly, leave a comment down below. Leave your suggestions down below. I did this video because a couple of you wanted to see some more SCP videos. So go ahead and leave your SCP suggestions down below and leave other suggestions as well, and we can get to those in the future. Thanks for stopping by, guys. Thanks for watching the video. Take care of yourselves and have a great day.